the plane's going up, and then everybody gets thrown up. Anybody who wasn't secured down to their seats were thrown up to the ceiling of the cabin, and then immediately as the plane dipped down the opposite direction, everybody fell down straight. I was seated, and not doing nothing in particular, but I started feeling the airplane starting to shake, like any normal turbulence. Like your seats will start shaking, and then the plane will just kind of move up and down a little bit, which is expected, and I think nothing too unfamiliar. But I think what was peculiar was that it continued getting worse without any kind of warning that the situation was being made worse by crew and from the flight deck. And it felt like being on a crest or the precipice of a really tall roller coaster, and you have the anticipation of going up. And at that point, like I felt like I needed to brace onto my belt and kind of like secure myself. I think some people reported feeling a lot of some kind of G-force pulling them back, or something to that effect. But I think for me, it was not nearly as dramatic as seeing some of the people who were just who were unsecured, just slamming straight to the top of the cabin, hitting the lights, and where the oxygen mask compartments would be. Like people just hit their head straight through the compartments, breaking the plastic, and people slamming straight down on the armrests, hitting their backs, hitting the head on something. And like I was looking to the side, seeing them in real time, just like being lifted off of their seats. And it's a instantaneous thing. It's not like you're seeing this in slow motion. As soon as when the plane tipped up and down, it felt like something worse was going to happen. We were going to crash. There was some engine malfunction, and I mean, thankfully the aircraft was stabilized right afterwards. I think the most important thing that we heard was that they asked for any medical professionals or people who can do first response type work to volunteer themselves. And just also we're told to kind of sit down and hang tight. But at the same time, amidst all this chaos and confusion, I felt, at least within my eyes, that people couldn't really absorb what was to be prioritized. The people who were hurt might be sitting down, but people who weren't hurt were just trying to find their missing things. They're trying to find their phones so they could maybe like call their loved ones. That period when we heard the announcement that we had to change directions and head to Bangkok, I think there was kind of like the unspoken agreement amongst everybody that this was completely necessary. Like even for me, I didn't really realize the gravity of what had happened until we actually landed down in Bangkok during the emergency landing. I didn't realize that all these panels above our heads weren't just the oxygen kind of like hatches for the masks to come out. It was literally broken and shattered by people's heads and bodies impacting them. Once the medics came in, then they started doing some triage on people who had injuries that they could treat. And after a while, they started opening up the emergency exits, and people from the fire department rescue team came in, and that's when the stretchers came in to help deal with the victims who had been really seriously injured, the ones who couldn't get up and couldn't walk and needed to be carried out. And I think that's probably one of the most perhaps horrifying, also shocking moments, because I think the entire time within that 1 hour flight or so to go down to Bangkok, I had no awareness, and I think people didn't have awareness of some of the really bad injuries. Like we only saw the people who were still seated, who had trauma wounds to their head, gashes, but there were some people who were seriously injured. Like my heart goes out to the people who have lost and who have suffered in the incident. And I think I've been very lucky to have come out of it uninjured physically. I'm thankful for that, but also for the diligence of the air crew and all the rescue teams